IVM.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to what we hope is the final rebroadcast of this year. We're going to be talking to Nischal Shetty. We spoke to Nischal in episode 40. In 2010, Nischal founded Crowdfire. Crowdfire is an interesting platform that helps bloggers, YouTubers, and e-sellers grow and build their brands. But recently, Nischal has founded a much more exciting company. It's called WazirX. WazirX is a cryptocurrency exchange platform, and Nischal is one of the pioneers in the crypto space in India. I think that you'll really enjoy this conversation. It's a year old, but I think that a lot of what you hear over here still holds true. So with that, let's get you on with it.
So, today we have Nischal Shetty, the founder at the newly formed WazirX, but of course also has been a founder in the past, founding Crowdfire, and before that, I think starting out your life all the way back in Network 18. And when I say starting out your life, you're a very young kid. And you're obviously have done some very cool things. So welcome to the show, Nischal. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
Thanks for making the trip from Vashi or from SF. Where are you nowadays?
No, I think now the last 1 month I've been in India.
Nice.
But the major part of 2017 was in SF. But I think major part of 2018 would be India.
Yeah.
Because of WazirX.
This is where it's happening. This is where
this is where the action is.
Yes. But tell us about yourself. Tell us what got you into this amazing world of tech.
So I started off as an engineer, a regular job in a regular company. Mm-hmm. And I used to build software, like every other engineer. Mm-hmm. After a couple of years, I realized that, it's better to work on a product that people use. So I ended up joining burp.com, right, which back then used to be, about restaurants, reviews and everything. It was the only product that was really used by people. This was back in 2009. Yeah. So I joined that, and it was an amazing experience building it and knowing who's using your product, hearing from users saying, I'm using this app. Yeah. And when you say I built it or I'm building it, then the excitement, the reaction, that's what was exciting. Right. And during this time, something interesting was happening on the site for me, which was Twitter.com. Right. They were pretty new. I think they launched in 2007. I joined in 2008. Right. And I was one of those early Twitter users. I think you were one of them.
Yes.
And I'm not sure, maybe we met on Twitter and...
Probably.
Probably. Because to be honest, I think all of my connections that are there right now in India, I think I met all of them on Twitter and then we met offline. Yeah. So that was an amazing start to my journey. Then around a year after I joined Twitter, Twitter launched their API platform where they said anyone can build an app on Twitter. Right. And I said, why not? Let's build a side project. Mm-hmm. And I built what I called justunfollow.com because there was this problem of, you end up following a lot of people and then how do you unfollow them? Yeah. And Twitter did not have an easy way to do that. So I said, let's build one. And I launched it and, to my surprise, a ton of people started using it. I think on day one of launching, I got about 3,000 to 5,000 signups already. And it just took off. And but I still said that, it's a side project. Let's keep doing it.
Yeah. And this was still while you were at Burp?
Yeah, I was still at Burp and this was my weekend project. Right. Saturdays, Sundays, I used to work on this. About 6 months in, it grew to a stage where I could not afford the server charges. I used to pay out of my pocket and it was a free app anyone could use. But there were tons and tons of people coming. It was for me in the beginning, it was like, today these many people came, tomorrow no one would come. Right. And that kept happening till a lot of people just ended up coming every day. So I said, now we need to make some money to pay the server charges. So what I did is, and today what people do is go and raise money. But when you have a day job and you don't have time to do something else, you have to find a way to raise money or make money faster. Right. So I said the best way would be to just put some monetization into the product. So I put a very simple way where I said if you want to unfollow more than X number of people, you need to pay us $10 a year. And to my surprise, in the first month itself, a ton of people subscribed to that plan. And my server charges were taken care of. But also, I think in a couple of months after that, it was paying me more than what my day job was paying me. I think my monthly revenues from just unfollow back then was more than my yearly package in my company.
Wow.
So when that happens, all the other ideas start coming.
Yeah.
Why do I have to have a job? so that came. So I quit my job and I said I'll do this full time, and that's how my journey began. So in a way, it's more accidental rather than being a natural thing that I want to start up, I want to do this, which I hear a lot of people doing it now today. But yeah, I'm an accidental entrepreneur, I would say. So that's how my journey started.
Nice. And Just Unfollow, obviously, that grew into a whole different...
you want to hear that story?
Yeah, of course. That's what we want you to tell us about, man.
Yeah. So I quit my job. And back then, when I quit my job, it was about 500,000 users who had used the product. And I was making enough money. So a few months down the line, another friend of mine who was working with me, I made him quit his job as well. And he joined me. And both of us, we took from that day, from 500,000 users. In the next 2.5 years, we took it to 8 million users. And while doing that, and we were still bootstrapped. We did not raise money. We started hiring people. We started building the product, made it better. We finally reached a stage where we realized that this could be even bigger than what it is. So we raised $2.5 million from Kalari Capital, renamed the product from Just Unfollow to Crowdfire, because we had this broader vision that why only follow and unfollow when you could actually manage your entire social media. And that's when we launched the Crowdfire as a new brand for this product. And from there, now we've reached a stage where we've got over 19 million users now. And it's still growing strong. We are one of the top social media products in the world. And along this, when I was doing, I think one of the dreams was to build a global product from India. And I think we've sort of achieved it now. When you look at the social media space, there are quite a few apps, but Crowdfire is one of the top. So yeah, it feels really good to know that, you could build something for a global audience. So yeah, that's how it's been. There's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of easy wins and difficult ones. But yeah, it's going on good right now.
Right. Wow. And like you said, I mean, I remember when early Twitter days, probably when you were growing and growing really fast already by then, I think when we caught up. It was amazing to actually hear the fact that you've been bootstrapped all this while and, you never needed outside capital because you were growing at a pace which afforded you to pay for your servers, company, team, and everything. But then, of course, you did go out and raise money, and then you did go out and even see the other side. I mean, like I said, you've been in SF and you've been looking at how the Valley operates, and compared to how you've been doing things in India. What's changed your take on how to build a company or grow a company over the last few years that you've seen, I guess, more of how that side operates?
Yeah, I think I've seen both sides. That's true. One side where you make enough money to sustain yourself, even hire people. The second where you have so much money that you have to hire people and grow. They both have their pros and cons. And but I think the end of the day, you have to figure out what business you're in. Let's say if you're in the business where there's a lot of capital to be put before you can make money, then raising money seems the right solution. But if you are in a business where you could make money from day one, I would suggest now, looking back, that it'll be good to stay that way and keep increasing your revenue rather than raising money. So yeah, it's a bit of both. What I see in the Valley though is, it's a lot of, one of the things we do in India is we try to see what is done in the Valley and do the same out here. But if you go to the Valley, you'll realize that even to hire your first engineer, it takes about $150,000. Which is why even if you build a good business in the beginning in the Valley, you cannot hire the second person.
Yeah,
which is why it is a need for you to raise money. But in India, it's relatively not that expensive to hire someone comparatively. So I think we are at an advantage in India where we could actually build businesses without raising a ton of money. And we should try to do that. Because that's
the opportunity.
Yeah, that's the opportunity. You have you have advantages in a company, then take advantages. Like if you don't have to raise money, keep building it on your own. I would say that's good, but it's more situational whether to raise or not raise. There's no easy rule that raise money, start up, succeed, do what is right. Yeah, I think that's about it, about raising money versus not raising money.
Nice. And over the past year or so, when you've seen this other side, post your raising money, going to the Valley and growing the company even further, what caused the journey from there to now what you're doing with WazirX and this whole new direction you've chosen to take, for growing your next product?
Yeah, so Crowdfire has come to a place where it's a very stable product. It's growing well, and we have an amazingly strong team which is working on it. While I was doing that, when I went to the Valley and I met a lot of entrepreneurs, I realized that I have this passion for looking at what's the next 10 years going to be. And when I started getting into cryptos, this is not just the last year, but back in 2009 when the whole Bitcoin thing started, I was one of those early people who got into it to try my hand at mining. I did that a bit, and then I realized it's probably too nascent, too early, and I forgot about it. Then in 2012, a few US companies started building wallets and other applications on the blockchain. So I again got into it. I spent a few months trying the apps, buying a bit of Bitcoins, selling them off, or transferring them to friends, all those stuff, just for fun. And then I said, again, it's too nascent, and I left it. Then in 2017, when I went to SF, I just realized that everyone was just talking about cryptos, and I wanted to know what is happening now. So I got into it, and now I'm not able to get out of it. And it's because this was the time when I understood the fundamental reason why people are so crazy about cryptos. It has this potential to actually change the way we look at, I would say, wealth, or the way we look at money. I think there's going to be a fundamental change in our mindset. It's happening, but it will just keep increasing. This whole movement which has started, I think in 2018, I just think it's going to blow up even more. So that's why I got into this, and I realized, let's build something in this space. And when I look at crypto in India, it's still very nascent compared to what it is in San Francisco or a few other countries like South Korea. And Japan, in fact, has legalized Bitcoin as a legal currency. So I said it's going to happen in India. People want to compare, India with China, but honestly, I think Indian laws are more align with what the US laws are. So I believe that it's going to be legalized over a period of time. Probably not as a currency, because the government just said that it's not a legal currency. But I think as an asset, it'll be legalized, where you can hold Bitcoins. I don't think the government would want to stop you from doing that. And when that happens, a lot of companies will come in this space. And I wanted to be a part of this revolution.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're planning with WazirX? What's the play, if you will?
Yeah, so WazirX is a cryptocurrency exchange, a crypto asset exchange, where you can go and buy cryptos from someone else in India, or you could sell your cryptos to someone else in India. The reason why I chose to build an exchange is because it's going to be the first step into the crypto world for anyone.
Right.
Now, let's say you don't know anything about crypto and you don't know what to do. The first step I would suggest is spend a bit of money to just buy cryptos and then do your research. So how would you do that first step is on WazirX. You just come to WazirX and you buy your cryptocurrency and you're done. But we've not launched the trading platform, so you cannot buy and sell right now. What we've done is something very different and innovative, where we've created our own crypto asset, which we call as WRX. And it's got a limited supply of 1 billion tokens that will be created, out of which we decided that we would first give away 15% of the tokens to our early adopters. So right now we are in the pre-sign-up phase, where you can come and sign up and earn those tokens. Now in the future we will list them on our exchange, and that is when the value of the tokens would be decided. Now if you go back in time in 2009, something similar happened with Bitcoin, where when Bitcoin launched, anyone, like I said, I tried mining. Anyone could actually, start mining Bitcoin on their personal computers, and they could, collect Bitcoins and keep them. Now, whoever kept them back then, it was free. Right now, every Bitcoin, I think the market's going up and down, but it's almost in the $8,000 to $9,000 range. That's 6 lakhs to 7 lakhs one Bitcoin. And I know of people who've, back then mined, let's say, hundreds and thousands of Bitcoins. Okay. So you could understand the value of holding an asset like that. Right. See, in the real world, you look at, a painting, a new painter just paints something. Nobody knows his name or her name, and you believe in them. What do? You probably pay them a small amount and take that painting. Right. Hold it for 10 or 15 years. What happens if that painter becomes the next big name in the industry? The painting you have is worth a lot more.
Yeah.
It's an asset. That's how I see these tokens to be. Let's not just about, WazirX tokens, but we are doing a podcast right now. And, one of you decides to build a podcasting app.
The Shunya coin.
The Shunya coin.
Shunya coin. So let's say, and I believe in Sheila's, abilities to be a great podcaster. Nice. And he decides to launch the Shunya coin.
Yes.
So today it might not be worth a lot.
Yeah.
But I would just, probably buy it for a nominal sum, or maybe he'll give it to me for free because I'm part of the podcast. and I'll just hold it. And let's say 5 years from now, everyone knows what, this podcast is all about. There are millions of listeners.
Right.
And then the tokens that I have would be worth a lot of money because maybe he'll say that if you have the tokens, you could advertise on my podcast with those tokens.
Right.
Yeah.
So the tokens become useful for me. So this is how I see that, every product, what I see is every product that launches will launch its own coin in the future, and they will need a place to list those coins.
So these are the initial coin offerings that we're hearing about. So much.
Yeah. So the ICOs, initial coin offerings that we hear about, are all about someone saying, hey, I have an idea of building a product.
Right.
Can I get some money for this? And I'll give the tokens to you for really cheap. But if we go big, you could actually make a ton of money.
So is it a replacement for stock in those contexts?
So, it's very interesting because right now, I don't know where the stocks and the tokens will merge.
I've had some trouble kind of understanding this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how does one translate into the other, right? I mean, let's say we do an IV, we're doing a Shunya coin right? So now if the people who are buying those Shunya coins in some way, are they owning Shunya 1, or are they just are they dependent on our goodwill in terms of being, because there's a corporate legal entity, there is it's a little
it's more of a transactional asset, right?
Yeah.
It's not, you're not owning a company.
Right.
But you are owning, rights on something.
Yeah,
you're owning.
What are you owning, right?
So if you think about these tokens, there are primarily, 3 types of tokens. So one is where they say purely this is going to be a currency. It becomes it's going to compete with the US dollar or the INR. The second is where it's more seen as a security, which is where I would say it's it's nothing but stocks.
Okay.
The third is where it's a utility.
Okay.
And utility is where you say it's not a stock, so you don't become a shareholder of the company, but we will make sure that these tokens are useful within our ecosystem.
Okay.
Today, if you think about it, you talk about, let's say, micropayments inside your app.
Correct.
And you accept those in US dollars.
Right.
What if you could say that I don't accept US dollars, I just accept my own Shunya coin?
Right.
Now, and when these tokens become limited in supply, whoever wants to spend has to buy those tokens.
Right.
That's when the value of the tokens increases.
Interesting.
Because if, let's say, you have only 100 tokens and 1,000 people want to put ads on the show,
correct,
they'll have to buy these tokens, and that's where the demand and supply comes into the picture.
Interesting, very interesting. Because what that does is it also, in some ways, so it allows you to...
It is essentially your own currency.
Your own ecosystem. Your entire...
Think about this. Every country in the world has its own currency.
Right.
They don't depend on a different country's currency for themselves.
Correct.
Because the currency economics come into the picture where the country creating the currency benefits.
Right.
As an app, why are we going to use US dollars or some other currency when we could create our own currency and benefit from those economics?
Especially if there's a lot of activity inside. If there's a lot of economic kind of activity inside your own ecosystem,
exactly,
then it makes a ton of sense. Wow, okay, this is really interesting. I need to get more information on
we're
this.
We're gonna take a quick break and come back and pick Nischal's brain on exactly what all this is all about.
Sure.
Hello, everybody. It's been another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. Please follow us on social media if you aren't. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. On Cyrus Says, Cyrus talks to comedian Neville Shah about going to the same school as Freddie Mercury and how difficulties in life make for great comedic material. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam is joined by the very first guest he had on his podcast. Mahavir Chopra is the Director of Health, Life and Strategic Initiatives at CoverFox. They talk about new online ULIPs and why they're worth your investment. On How to Citizen, Meghnad and Shreya speak to comedian Abbas Momin, that's our very own Abbas, about understanding laws. They try to understand our free speech laws and what exactly is dissent. On the Filter Coffee podcast, animal activist Anand Siva joins Karthik Nagarajan to talk about animal cruelty and environmental conservation. On Geek Fruit, Tejas and Dinkar are joined by producer Janam to discuss the mind-effing films of Christopher Nolan. They talk about his beginnings, his first films, and the moment where he became the modern-day god of cinema. We have a Valentine's Day special on Advertising is Dead. Varun's guest is none other than his wife Pooja Johri, who is also CEO at The Glitch. They talk about how they balance their personal and professional lives, how she's made creative people work under a structure, and a lot more. On Golgappa, Rajshri Deshpande of Sacred Games fame talks to Tripti Kamkar about taking up challenging roles as an actor and her social work initiatives. And with that, let's get you on with your show.
All right, welcome back. And we're going to have a massively crypto-heavy discussion. I pretty much knew that when I called up Nischal say after he's launched WazirX. So it's good because, like you were saying, there's a bunch of confusion around
exactly
what all this just means. And I think, like every other hype product or hype cycle, in fact, it's not so dissimilar from what has been happening with startups in general. Every day since 2015, there's been a startup on the front page, and we're talking about funding. Now we are talking about crypto because suddenly there's money. There's real money involved, right?
Right.
That's why the hype happens. But what's at the heart of it? Like, what is behind the scenes with ICOs and currencies and blockchain and whatever else in this domain? Like,
see, if you look at the fundamental thing, I would say there's a lot of hype for sure, but the underlying technology behind Bitcoin or any other crypto is actually the innovation. And I would compare it to the last innovation we all saw as a generation was the internet. Mm-hmm. Now, there was this internet boom and, the burst where internet companies died out. But the internet just got stronger. Right. Which is the same thing that's going to happen to the underlying technology of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, which is the blockchain. Mm-hmm. So while there might be a lot of ICOs coming up, a lot of good stuff being built and a lot of bad stuff being built right now, where there's scammy stuff. But after all of this, when we get out of this whole phase, what is going to be coming out stronger is the application of blockchain. Mm-hmm. And, the blockchain, to tell you in a simple way, is it's simply a database where you don't have to have a owner owning that database and managing it. Right. You could put it out in the open and you can be assured that the data in that is exactly what it's supposed to be. No one can manipulate it. No one can change it the way they want, except the way it's been designed to be changed. Mm-hmm. So, for example, and this is where, the whole thing about money. Right now, today, when you give your money to someone else, let's say online, there's a intermediary which is managing this whole exchange of
like
money.
A payment gateway.
Yeah, and banks, and, and you have to trust them. And which is all right. But what do you do when there's a trustless ecosystem to be built? And it has to be built because trust comes with, these centralized authorities, which not everyone has access to. Mm-hmm. So this is where blockchain comes in and says, hey, you don't need to have a centralized authority. I will make sure that if there are 5 people in the ecosystem, all 5 can trust me. And I'm not a person, I'm just a technology, and I exist out here. And that is where the, whole, I would say a paradigm shift in the way things are happening is going to happen. Because now you can actually give your tokens, and I can believe that the tokens, if you say there are going to be only 100 tokens, I know, even if I don't believe you as a person, I believe the technology that there won't be more than 100 tokens.
So so is there mining in these kinds of situations? Right? I mean, like the way Bitcoin mining was, you were talking about earlier, right? So when you're talking about these more kind of limited applications of cryptocurrency or this, do you mine? Is there mining, and do people, or I mean, like, how is the the value, the initial value that's imparted to a Bitcoin is because somebody has spent the time to solve the problems to kind of to mine that thing out, right? So in this case, is it just a notional value that people are applying to it? Let's say we do the Shunya coin, because that's an easy example, right?
Yeah.
So we create the Shunya coin for the internal this. Is it just the declaration that me and Shiladitya made that there are going to be 100 Shunya coins and that's it? And then we distribute them out to people? Or is it sorry.
See, there are different ways in which you could do this. First, let's get to the basics of it. When, let's say, you want to launch your own coin, you could either say it's going to be limited in supply or unlimited. You have a choice to do that. But most of the ICOs and most of the product-related coins, I would say, it's more about limited supply.
Okay.
And now, how does the supply come? The mining part that you're saying is where you're saying there is going to be, let's say, 100 coins. But we don't have all those coins today.
Right.
We might, none of us has any coins. And we're going to put our system out where, you could host your own setup and you could host the blockchain on your entire, let's say, your computer. And you'll have to run the computer for 5 hours to get one coin out of it.
Okay.
So that's called mining.
Okay.
And the computer would do some, work behind the scenes to probably validate this blockchain.
Correct.
And as a result, you would get one token.
Right.
So that's what is mining all about. I don't want to get to the technicals of it, but in the simplest way, mining is where you have to do some work to earn those tokens.
Correct. Right.
The second way is where you say, I'm going to give away 100 coins and I have all the 100 coins with me already.
Right.
Which is, you say, pre-mined, it's called.
Yeah.
And there's no mining after that.
Okay.
So there's no need to do any work as such where you keep a computer and all.
Right.
You just distribute those
just
tokens.
start trading.
Yeah.
How does the blockchain get maintained over there? Because the value of that mining is that the blockchain is maintained through that, right?
So that's a good question. The way you can do this pre-mined thing today is because there are these blockchain technologies that have built an underlying platform, and they said all this mining stuff will take care of it.
Okay.
So Ethereum is a good example where the underlying technology still has mining.
Okay.
And this database is still maintained by a lot of computers and servers. But you as a product where you want to launch a product token, you don't have to worry about the whole maintenance of these things.
Okay.
That's why you just say that, these many tokens, everyone gets it. But when you exchange tokens on the blockchain, when you give your token to someone else, you'll have to pay a small mining fee, which is called gas in Ethereum.
Okay.
So it's a small fee that you'll pay, which goes to the people who host this
who
blockchain.
are actually doing the blockchain.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Essentially, it's like everyone has a copy of the bank ledger, right? So everyone who's maintaining it or updating it.
You would not update that unless you have some incentive to update it.
Yeah, which is the fees.
Which is the fees.
Yeah.
Which is
the fees. Instead of putting one central agency and one central service to handle all the transactions, this is split into whoever can.
Interesting.
And they get a little piece of the pie.
So the in a way, the whole blockchain technology enables everyone to be part of this whole ecosystem and benefit from that. Right. It's not like a few people are going to make money, the others are not going to.
Right.
If you have the capabilities, if you have the resources, you can just enter. There's no permission. It's permissionless.
Right.
And everyone can just jump in and be a part of this. So it's inclusion. It's not exclusivity.
There's no prioritization, nothing like that.
Yeah, of course. End of the day, if you have more resources, you'll make more money. But that's something I don't know. I don't know how that would be solved. But relatively, no one would say that hey, you're too small. You should not be part of this or something like that.
Coming back to Amit, your question about how crypto as a valuation as ICOs versus actual IPOs of companies work, right?
It is. So I mean, there's that.
I actually want to talk a little more about that also. Like, what is this token? The value of the token being offered, and how does anyone understand it?
How do you
trust the value?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the trust becomes essentially you're trusting the company that's issuing the token, right?
Yes.
And that trust is paramount in the sense of that token having any kind of notional value, and that seems like because again, it's not connected to the legal entity that the company is.
Right.
There is a gap over there, right? So that is so how is that addressed generally?
Yeah. See, the thing is, there's no hard and fast rule right now, but let's say you like a product, you do some research, you like the team, you like what they've done before, and you trust that what they built this one will go really big in value over a period of time, then you jump in. So there's nothing that guarantees you that this will be successful. There's nothing that assures you that the money you're paying at this stage is the right amount.
Right.
It can happen that you're paying, let's take for example 100 rupees a coin, and after 1 year of the product launching and being in the market, it might just go to 10 because maybe you overvalued it. Or it might happen you paid 100 rupees and after a year it might go to 10,000. So that it's a risk. All right. But I would say don't go after ICOs where you just see a bunch of people putting in money, so you're going to put your money. But if you believe in the product, if you believe in the team behind it, then definitely go for it. And if your belief is in the team, then you should also believe that they're going to price it in the right way.
Correct.
But ultimately the pricing, the whole market dynamics come into play when the token really gets listed on an exchange, because there it's a free market where anyone can buy and sell these tokens. And usually founders are incentivized to give the tokens at a cheaper rate at the ICO level, because once it goes to the exchange, they definitely want it to go up in value. So any founders who are trustworthy, you know them, I would say you'll have to just go with the pricing they've done. You have no choice right now to say that the pricing is too much. You either be a part of it or you'll have to stay away. But there's no hard and fast rule that this token is worth X amount before it's listed.
Correct. No, but that's analogous to like taking a risk with a stock investment, right?
Yeah.
If a VC is investing in a company, you don't know if the company is going to go up or down. You make your best choices based on what you think of the team and the founders.
But the best thing about the way tokens work today is, until now, as regular people, you and me, we could invest in companies only at the IPO level.
Correct.
Where if you think about it, the company's juiced out all its growth, and when it's matured enough, you get to be.
Correct.
You could never be getting a position when the VCs got.
Correct.
So you only read stories about someone getting a 100x or a 10x return on their investment, which always happened to be someone with a ton of money.
Right.
But let's say you
Angel
have only
investors.
or angel investors. But let's say you had only 5,000 rupees and you found this. Let's take a hypothetical example. 2007. You found, or 2008, let's take Twitter for example. 2008, not a lot of people knew Twitter. When I used it, I said this is world changing. But now, and it's a $1 billion company, but as a user and as an early adopter, I have nothing, out of Twitter.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I had 5,000 or 10,000 rupees and there was this token, I knew I would have just taken that and held on to it. And today it would have been worth a lot. And now that opportunity comes to us today. So today, let's say 5 years from now, you look at a company and say, this is going to be big. And if there's a token, you can actually invest whatever little money you want and benefit from that.
So do you think that these kinds of tokens, again, sorry, just pulling back a little, right? These kinds of tokens, do you think they have value primarily if the ecosystem within which that token is operating and being traded in is expanding, and thus the value of that token increases due to scarcity? Or do you think the value of these tokens should be linked to company performance just generally, right? Like let's say your company changes in some way, and the way that the company changes, there's no longer a lot of ecosystem activity within it, but now the company itself is growing much, much larger. So I mean, like, do you think so I mean, like, how?
It's a mix of both.
Right.
There would be companies where they see inherent use of the token within their ecosystem, and such tokens would definitely increase in value as the company grows.
Right.
And then there would be, I would say, speculative tokens where people would just want to hold it and trade it, and it would maybe not really have any bearing on the company's technology or the product.
Right.
But people would still want to trade with it and keep using it. Now the benefit of the tokens is it's also international. So let's say IPOs again happen in countries.
Yes.
Already you can IPO in a country, but this gives you a global playing field. So even if a company is not using the token, not making any revenues out of that token, but believers of that product can actually buy into that product through these currencies. So it's a little, if you just try to superimpose this on the way stocks work, it may not work out.
Right.
But if you think about how belief systems work, and you see that you believe in a product and you want to be a part of it, how do you become a part of it? By buying something into it.
Right.
And that's when I would say that tokens come into the picture.
But at the same time, buying something into the product is one. Like, okay, you own a piece of whatever you believe in, you own a piece of it. But you only see the value when someone else also believes that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like a belief system which you need other people to buy into to ever see any returns.
Exactly.
Because otherwise the money you're putting in is not liquid, or it's liquid, but it's not going to grow in value unless someone else also values it, and hence you get to sell it to someone.
Yeah, which is why, see, ultimately the whether the token is used within a product or it's more of a symbol. As a product grows, if either the product makes a lot of revenues or it, let's say, goes viral, the value of the token will definitely increase. So you just have to see if the product is going to grow big. If that's going to happen, then see, it's like, once you get to know about a product, you might be the 10,000th user of that, and this will go to 1 million. So after you, there's going to be a ton of more users who are going to come in. And what would their thought be? Wow, this product is nice. I just discovered it. Let me be a part of it. Let me buy a token. And when they come to buy a token, since it's a limited supply, they would have to buy it from someone.
Right.
And this is where the value just keeps increasing, because if more and more people hold the token and don't want to sell it, only a few people who have to sell will price it higher.
Right.
And that's when your value just keeps increasing.
Right.
So unless you're the last person who's going to join that product and the last person to buy,
right,
you don't have to worry about the token's value increasing. It keeps increasing. Like Facebook, for example, has grown every year. So whoever bought in 2007 would have benefited in 2008, 9, and it just goes on.
It just keeps going on.
So that's how it would have worked.
Yeah, so I think it's not a parallel to stocks. It's a whole different.
It's a different thing. Yeah, it's just so I mean, I think all of this stuff is really fascinating, especially in the the ecosystem area.
Yeah.
The other part of it is where I'm still just having a little trouble trying to understand or trying to grok essentially, how does the value of the company to the Shunya coin, if you will, right? How are these two things linked outside of demand that the customers have? Because there's no linkage.
There's no link.
Yeah, there's no linkage itself.
No,
right?
I would say, as product owners, it's the owners of getting the utility of the token within the product. Right. Lies on the creators,
and I think that is tremendously powerful.
Yeah.
That to me feels like a really, really, really powerful kind of space,
and that is how it should be done.
Yeah.
I would say, let's say, for example, the Shunya coin and podcast. You could say that 5 podcasts anyone can listen to. The 6th podcast, you need at least 1 token.
Yeah.
You just
you
something
create
like
demand
that
through that. Yeah. I mean, you create micropayments that can be handled through this.
Exactly.
You can create. There are a lot of different ways that you can kind of create different ways for creating economic activity within the ecosystem itself.
Or an even simpler example, even this whole culture of tipping.
Right.
Let's say I like a podcast. I could just tip a micro tip.
Exactly.
And here, maybe for 100 rupees, I would get 500 tokens that I can then just use to tip it to any podcast I listen to.
And that part I completely buy, right? The other one, the one where somebody is investing in the company, the speculative kind of this. Now let's say I sell. Let's say we have 5 million listeners listening to Shunya One every week, and we go out and sell ads for mad amounts of money, right? How does that get linked in value back to the coin?
See now,
because that's an offline activity. It has nothing to do with what's going on here, right?
It doesn't,
right? But at the same time, that the enterprise value has increased. So the people who have initially invested would be looking at some sort of way to kind of see an increase in their investment value, right?
I would say if you do something like that, and now see, these are all really open areas right now. Nobody knows the answer, but and there are different thoughts around this. But let's say you were to sell ads in the offline space. I would still say what you would need to do is you say that if you want to buy ads worth 5 lakh rupees, you'll have to buy tokens worth that amount.
There you
make
go.
tokens the main currency.
Make tokens the currency for that as well, and then that is increasing the value for everybody. So tokens become the way that you work.
Right. Exactly.
Basically, if anybody wants to work with you, they have to convert cash to tokens, and they work with you like that.
Yes.
So even if I am making payments to vendors, I make them payments in Shunya coins.
Yeah.
Right.
And they could then sell it off on.
They can sell it off on the exchange that it is, but that keeps the activity
on WazirX. We are going to launch Shunya coin on WazirX.
Everybody's salary is coming on Shunya coins.
But this is where it's at, right? I mean, we are at the very start of this whole scenario of how suddenly our worldview on currencies and money is changing. These are essentially micro countries. Every ICO is like a micro currency of its own, as well as a store of value. I know there's a big debate around store of value versus currency and so on, right? But and a lot of people have been saying Bitcoin and cryptos is more like gold than they are like dollars.
Yeah, about Bitcoin, there's a school of thought that it's a currency, and there's a school of thought it's an asset, and it's like gold. So it's not decided. It may never be decided.
I think it's going to have to go in asset class, because currencies are controlled by governments, and governments can block Bitcoin if they really want to.
Yeah.
They can block stuff, right?
Yeah, but see, there are so many countries, and not every country will follow the same process.
Not everyone will. Everyone will.
Like I just spoke about Japan in the beginning. Japan has accepted Bitcoin as a currency.
Correct.
So it would just differ country to country.
But then that's no different than currency differing country to country,
exactly.
right? I mean, the promise of Bitcoin is this universality.
Yeah. So that way, if you think of an asset, no one's going to deny it's an asset.
Right.
If you think of currency, there will be regulations where in some countries it's going to be accepted, somewhere it's not.
I mean, they will block the avenues to exchange, right? I mean, if they make it so that you cannot change a Bitcoin into a rupee,
exactly.
At that point in time, or a dollar or whatever that currency may be, then at that point in time, it becomes really difficult.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's an asset you have to hold.
Yes, exactly. So maybe the asset school of thought might be more aligned with the whole philosophy that Bitcoin has to be universal and it has to be used in the same way. Then it's probably an asset class might work out.
Also, I think it might, just for the general future for Bitcoins or just for cryptocurrencies, I think it might be safer in terms of government interaction.
Yeah, like the Indian government recently said that it's not a legal tender.
Correct.
But it's an asset that you can hold. So that's not a problem.
Does that mean you can't trade?
You can trade. That's the thing. Legal tender, as in what they're saying is, don't use Bitcoin to, let's say, buy coffee or your cup of tea, because there you have to use INR. But let's say you want to hold Bitcoin, or you want to give Bitcoin to another person in exchange for a different currency. You could do that easily.
Okay.
So payment systems cannot be. So where you're paying using INR or using a credit cards, it will still be INR.
So So now that you've started WazirX, right? I mean, you're obviously looking at, apart from your own coin, you're looking at other people hosting their coins or trading all available cryptos which you will work with on your platform. But are you saying that they can't pay for it?
No, so they can buy it. You can buy an asset.
Right.
But you cannot use that asset, to buy something else which typically is bought with money. So that's the only difference.
Really? But then
I can buy art. Let's say I can buy a painting, but I cannot use that painting, take that painting to a coffee shop and say, take my painting, give me coffee. So that's
there can,
the
but there
difference.
can be a back-end invisible transaction, right? Like if I want to pay by Bitcoin, I'll sell off some portion of my Bitcoin and make that payment to that. That can happen.
Yeah,
right?
you can sell off your Bitcoin, take the INR, go to the coffee shop, buy a coffee.
Right. So I mean, and that can all happen in microseconds and stuff like that, and it can actually look to the user like they're paying with Bitcoin.
I am not sure. I don't think that's probably right now. I don't think that's also allowed. Where you pay through Bitcoin, it gets converted to rupee, and the merchant gets it.
Right.
I think that's again a grey area where there's no clarity right now.
Okay.
I would say the safest is buy it as an asset,
Keep it
hold
as
it, sell it off when you want to sell it,
Right.
when the value is up, if you want to sell it, or whatever. But use it as an asset. Exactly. Just think of how I would say the painting example is the best, or the gold.
Right.
You hold gold today. You don't go to a shop and give gold and buy something in return. So just hold it that way. I think everything is clean right now.
Yeah, so all the startups and all the other guys who've started early on Bitcoin in India, it's not that they are affected all of a sudden.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not
at all, because
unless they have a payment system being built where they say, I want to replace the INR payments that are happening.
Right.
So not that.
Yeah. So I think trading is definitely the way. Anyway, I think Indians love stock markets anyway, right? So I think this is just one more stock market or multiple stock markets.
Yeah,
for them
where
to
it's
strategically
also
play on.
you're playing at a global level, and this is where even WazirX, when I was building, the motivation was that we as a country are in a phase where we are really the next. I would say we as a country would be the next superpower. I believe in that, and if we have to be that, if we have to be at a global stage at one of the top countries in the world, I think we should play at the global stage. And so while the stock market is local, I think our the future generation would actually want to be playing at a global field and actually win there. And if we can do this trading globally over a period of time, I would say we would hold more of these assets as a country, where each Indian's owning together, I would say, is what the power will be. So I think it's a great way for us to show how we as a country can progress faster by getting involved in cryptocurrency early, and as this trading happens, I think we'll understand how Indians grow with cryptos, that they hold.
Yeah, but with time, of course, now we are still in that flux period of people being a little confused, not sure what this is, and buying into things. Only Bitcoin and a few of these top cryptos, which everyone sort of knows about. The long tail of this is that everyone can start a crypto, right?
Yes.
So don't you think then it becomes like, again, you'll need sort of some unifying agency or unifying currency
so
to
think about
sort
this.
of manage this?
Think about what the internet did. Before the internet, if you wanted to start a business, you had to have a shop that you had to rent with a lot of money. The internet said anyone can build a business, and it becomes a globally accessible business right from day one. Shopify came, said you can build hundreds of shops, of your own online. And today you have millions of websites. It's not clashing. It's not like there's only one website today. Similarly, if you look at now the crypto world, where tokens for each of your websites, that again I would say each website can have its own token. And we think about this where we say everything has to be one, but if you think about even as humans, we are all tribals. We have our own tribes, we have our own I would say favorites and our own things that we dislike. Sometimes you like something that someone else does not like it. So similarly, if you like a product, you will buy into the token, you'll hold it. Someone else might not like it, but they might be interested in the token of some other product. So if you think of unifying it, you're saying there's no choice anymore. Why should I like something that someone else likes?
Right.
I might just find, let's say, 1,000 people like me who believe in the product, and we all just want to trade amongst ourselves and use it. Or maybe someone else might have a product with 100,000 users. So I would say, this whole scale, there's probably the internet companies of today have taught us that it's a way where if you either become humongous and you grow and that's value, or you go home. But what I see the future is, even if you're a small product with only 10,000 users who really, really love your product, you could still survive. And in fact, because of cryptos, you can actually thrive, not just survive. Because even 10,000 people are enough to create enough demand and supply in your cryptos that it'll succeed for you.
When Shunya coin is happening.
It is.
Yeah, like I know you don't have to dream of Shunya coin being used by a billion people, though you should dream.
We should, yeah.
But let's say even if 10,000 people start believing in that, and they start trading amongst themselves, I would say immense value can be created in just those 10,000 people.
Yeah.
But today what happens, because of the way advertisements and everything works, you need to get tons and tons of people before you can actually make any money or any value out of it.
Right.
So I think it's going to be a very different way in which these tokens can help products being built, where you can start making revenues, you can start monetizing, you can start generating value out of those 5,000, 10,000 people. Think about this, the internet, when you say you have 5,000 listeners or 10,000 listeners, that's a ton of people listening. Yeah. In the offline world, if you were to make them stand in a queue or in a stadium, it'll fill that up.
Yeah.
Still 5,000 or 10,000 is seen like nothing on the online world today.
Yeah.
It's not right, because I think those 5,000 are real human beings, right?
Yeah.
So what if these 5,000 people had a token and they just traded amongst themselves? That's a ton of value that can be created between them. And this is where I think, the next 2 to 3 years, there'll be a paradigm shift in the way monetization of products happen. Small products that are liked by a small niche audience does not have to die out because the founders could not make enough money. Right. I think it'll all change with this crypto. But yeah, it's to be seen. Now, maybe in a year or two, we'll start seeing all these things happen.
Yeah, I think this is definitely the direction that we are headed with crypto, and the understanding of its intrinsic value is where each of these things will thrive. Of course, ultimately it will have to come into the offline world, because to survive, we're not only digital people. Right? We still need to buy that cup of coffee. We still need to buy food. And I think only when it really gets into your daily life is when I guess things will really change. I mean, that's...
So just one question just popped into my head right now. It might be slightly tangential, but so you said that you're not allowed to use crypto in India as a currency, right?
Yeah.
So in the sense that I cannot make a payment with crypto.
Yeah.
But so then does that mean that you can... So then how do you exchange crypto, right? I mean, like, let's say the Shunya coin, and somebody wants to tip Shiladitya because he made a lot of really cool points today, right? And they decide, I want to tip Shiladitya $50, right? Yeah. So that is rupee value.
Yeah.
But they're making that payment with the Shunya coin.
Right.
So how is that? Is that legal? Is that illegal? Or?
See, I think it's again not defined.
Not defined.
These
Okay.
questions. This is the thing.
I'm sorry,
there
I
are
get
hundreds.
really specific with this stuff.
No, there are hundreds of questions that pop out even when what is actually a payment?
Right.
We could have been trading barter system.
Yeah, think of Zynga coins.
Right.
Where
exactly. Same there, right?
Was that a payment or was that just the ecosystem?
Yeah.
So we don't know. I would say there has to be more clarity from the government as well, but it's not an easy thing for them also.
Yeah.
And there are so many edge cases, so many different use cases.
Yeah.
So we'll know over a period of time. This is the thing about being at the forefront of something new,
Right.
Where there's a lot of confusion. But one thing is certain that it's moving in the right direction right now.
Cool.
People are saying it's a bubble, but it's been there for 9 years now. It's been working well. There is always an up and down around this technology, but it's been consistently proving itself. So as more and more people come in, there will be more clarity. There will be more solutions from governments. So we'll know. I think 2018 is going to be a great year, where I think a few large countries will come up probably with their own laws. And when that happens, there'll be clarity for the rest of the countries as well, everyone else.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, Nischal. I mean, we could keep going on and on about crypto and
I know. I
the
got
Shunya
like
coin
600 other
and
questions, man.
but I think what we're looking forward to seeing is, of course, WazirX getting started, going global. The WRX coin. I have a few. I signed up.
Yeah.
I hope I do. I don't know. I got the sign up email.
You submitted your KYC document?
No, not yet.
You should. After that, you get
so
the
you
coin.
need another card for for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Or for the.
I think exchanges in India have to do the KYC.
Yeah.
It's not a rule, but I think it's self-regulation.
No, it's better to do it.
Yeah, it's better to do it.
Yeah.
So we
you
all
don't want to have to then do it later and not be able to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. So looking forward to listing the Shunya coin there, and going global. And but I think what you're onto, like you said, is something great. And of course, you've already done it once with Crowdfire, and I think
this time for India.
This time for India and the world. So look forward, and thanks so much for doing this, man.
It's been great being here on the show.
Where do people get in touch with you? How do they find you on Twitter?
My handle is Nischal Shetty. They can follow me, send me a DM, send me a hello. I usually end up replying.
Awesome. And we will look forward to talking to Nischal there. And of course, you must join our Slack channel where a lot of people give us feedback. We crossed 100 Slack channel members.
Oh, great.
So
I'll be the 101.
You'll be 101.
Okay.
And
so you can get to the Slack channel by going to the website, ivmpodcast.com/Shunya1. Over there's a button saying subscribe to the Slack channel. And if you send us your email, we'll send you back a invite. And also, please do the iTunes reviews. I mean, those are really helpful. Or anywhere else, actually. Anywhere you're listening to the podcast, just drop a review.
For today, and in a few years, maybe buy tokens.
Buy tokens, yes.
All right.
For sure.
All right. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
see you next week.
Every week comes a show where three people come together to tell you about stuff they like. A movie, a TV show, a book, and other stuff. Tune in every Monday on the IVM Podcast app to IVM Likes. Batman approves this message. Thank you, Batman.
Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta. I'm B50 on Twitter. I am the host of Paisa Paisa, the show that talks money. On my show, I speak to experts from every field of money and finance. From stock markets, equities, debt funds, credit cards, life insurance, every possible area of money and finance that you can think of. We even did an episode on cryptocurrency. I've got fantastic guests from mutual funds to personal finance experts everywhere. Robo-advisory, startups, just name it, we've got it. At Paisa Paisa, we help you make smart decisions about money. You work hard for money. Now make your money work hard for you. New episodes out every Monday, and you can listen to my show on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you have.